Okay, well, I'll go ahead and start saying, my name is Jess. I'm on Instagram and doing the book thing here at the crypt. And I just have to say, I really enjoyed Frostbite so much, Angela. I am like in awe of you. I am okay. Anyways, go.
Please here. Hi guys.
Hi. We were just doing a little introduction and bragging on Angela about her amazing book.
Oh my gosh, yes. Sorry, I was helping close the shop tonight.
Oh. No wonder you're in a nice setting.
I feel dragged. I feel unintentionally dragged.
I'm sorry.
I was panicking, thinking, oh, I should tidy up behind me where people can see, and then I was like, oh wait, or I'll just do a.
Well, someone send me the Frostbite picture. I want that as my background.
Then figure out how to do it yourself, like Jess and I did.
Someone sends me the photo, I can. I know how to do it.
Well, that's not doing it yourself. As you can probably tell, Angela, we know each other pretty well.
And we have ADHD and other things. Yeah.
Taking my jacket off now. Okay.
I think we have another couple of people who are expected to come in. Maybe just take a little while, but that's why we've got the recording going so the other members of the group don't miss out, and hopefully so we have a good time and we can show off.
That's great.
But
yeah, so I was thinking, like, I read in the wait, am I muted? Oh no. Okay, I read in the afterwards you said that you were kind of writing this as the prairie dogs way to, like, because of what they used to do with the dead prairie dogs. I was like, oh
yeah. I don't know if everyone read the afterword yet. Also, I guess I should also see if everyone finished the book yet, because I don't want to like do spoilers if people haven't. So let me know if you haven't finished it and you want to avoid spoilers. But yes,
yeah,
if you
we
haven't read the afterword yet, there was some disturbing prairie dog business in North Dakota that
I am the bad noodle of the group. This go around. Everybody gets one. Everybody gets one, and this is my turn, Spider-Man. I did not get to finish it, so I am going to be the spoiler buffer of when we hit that may be too far. There should be plenty of points that I think we'll be totally cool with, but there might be points where we're like,
yeah.
the line.
Sounds good. We'll be vague.
Yeah, we could be a little vague, although
it'll be like book boudoir, like we might need to leave that to your imagination. Read the book, find out.
yeah.
Or we'll just tell Kaylee to mute if the rest of us want to discuss something too.
That's it. That's it. We'll be like, everyone who hasn't read, this is your sign to.
Yeah, because Angela knows the part that she got me on.
Yeah.
She knows where she inserted the knife and twisted.
That's the
and
one
this,
I always hear from people about. I get messages on that.
Oh my god, so
pretty
evil.
regularly.
It was so evil. Because this little cheerful goth routine, I am seeing right through it.
I gotta make you feel the feels, all the emotions.
It's very hard to make me feel feels with books sometimes. Like, I don't really cry with books, but I almost like felt it in my throat, like, oh, I might cry from a book.
I cried when I was writing that part. You gotta like feel what you're doing, you know?
Yeah, I was gonna ask you if you cried while writing this part that Haley won't know about. I figured like with me
Is this
You'll-
Ma related? Is this Ma related?
I
I
don't know
will
what you
not
say.
confirm. No.
Mackenzie just touched her head like.
Oh, it's because, okay, what most
Okay,
people
well,
don't know
we can-
is my hair sticks up. And growing up, Kaylee can confirm this. I have these little tufts of hair that would curl into horns. And so, like, I can see it in the camera. And I'm trying to pat it down.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with, it's just her little horns.
Not a
you know?
signal.
It's not a signal. My hair is just not cooperating.
But we can go earlier in the books to talk about sort of the beginning, because I'm so curious as to how you go from like this 90s small town working at the gas station, nothing happening, to an episode of The X-Files. Like how did you just think to go there from Demise, North Dakota, where nothing happens?
It's hard to say, you know, anytime someone says like it's kind of like saying, how do you get your ideas? And you're like, I'm not really sure how my brain works. But I will say, I watched a lot of B horror movies when I was growing up. And so like essentially I wrote a B horror movie that took place in the 90s because it's fun. I like nostalgia, you know. It was like fun. I could make a soundtrack. I could like do references of what I grew up with. And then I just kind of went from there, like what wacky, crazy things could happen. And I watched like a ton of X-Files when I was in college, actually. I was kind of a super fan. My partner and I would record every episode onto VHS tape. So we had like a box of VHS tapes with all the like handwritten labels of every episode of the X-Files.
That's
So-
amazing.
So that was like stewing in my brain, plus like critters and gremlins and everything. So I think it just all came together. And
Yeah.
just
I think
out
the
of the-
90s setting is perfect for what's going on. Because like sometimes I was like, God, I wish they had a cell phone or something. But the 90s makes it work like perfectly. They're just on the cusp of any technology.
Yeah, it's kind of a cheat. It's kind of an author cheat, you know, because you're like, haha. So they
Yeah.
can't use a cell phone. Easy makes it easier for me why they can't like call for help, you know.
But I
Mhm.
also loved all the little sort of not just nostalgia, but like, haha, with hindsight, this is funny. Whereas if you'd read that line in the 90s, it wouldn't have been. Like when she's talking to what's his name? The guy that likes her, Tony.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, they're gonna promote me to manager soon at Blockbuster.
Oh my God,
You know, they're
yes!
everywhere. Like, so I'll never have to worry about a job. And I was
Yeah,
like,
always have job security at Blockbuster.
if
At the
only he'd
time, you were like,
known.
what? I should get in there.
Yeah, let me get in on that.
I would have
So I was
loved
like,
to work
"Ooh."
at Blockbuster.
Well, that's
Me
like
too.
also the girl who has oh my gosh, I'm so my terrible toxic trait is I will remember like every detail about the book, but just like people in person, I will never remember your name. I'll remember every detail you've ever told me, but your
He
name
doesn't
just
even know any of our names.
like it just I'm like, ooh, if everyone could wear name tags, cool. But like the oh my God, in my head, I'm like, she's a Barbie and she runs.
Brooke.
In my
Yes.
head, yes, she's
Mhm.
the American Furniture Warehouse 90s girl in my head. And she has the she's going to go Sigmund, Siegfried and Roy. We're like,
Yes.
oh no, that's not going to go well.
Thanks for stealing my
So
comment that I
not gonna go
texted
well.
you.
I know. Oh no.
She's the
Mackenzie,
one on
we're
the
so
cover.
related, though.
She's the
I
one
was
on the
gonna
cover
say, is
with
she
the
the Barbie girl
crowbar
on the
in her
cover?
little pink snowsuit.
I love it.
Also,
I
just
will say
wanted
that's
to
one
know
of my
she's-
favorite things. Oh no, go for it.
I was like, we all started talking at once, and I was like, ooh.
I think she mentioned that cover, and we all like the brain
Yeah.
cell, the collective brain cell. We shall went. I think that's one of like my personal favorite things is the second a character is mentioned, it is so new, just nice to be like, it's this one. I like having that amazing turn and look of like, oh, it's this character. I love that. And
Right
having
there.
those nice identifiers.
Yeah.
excellent.
Didn't he do, so our cover artist, Eric Habeller, what we told him we wanted was like a Amblin movie poster from the 80s and 90s. So if you remember looking at like the Adventures in Babysitting poster,
Yes!
or like
Yes.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, how it's a character, like each character has a little thing. That's what we told him we wanted. And so I sent him like descriptions of all the characters and excerpts from the book, and that's how he did the cover.
Did an amazing job.
Yeah, he did a really good
Did
job.
an absolute amazing job.
And the color palette is just like my favorite. All
It's
my
so
I
favorite
know.
colors.
I'm reading on Kindle, so it's black and white. And then every time I see a picture of the actual cover, I'm like, God, that's cool.
I also gotta say, I love that it is queer coded in the color palette. I was like, I can't get any more happy about that.
Hey,
I
wonder
know.
why.
It's amazing. It's great. It's grand. It's grand.
It's like her little subtle flag, you know.
It very much is. I love it. I love it.
Also, I just wanted to note that the events of this book take place a week before Christmas, or yeah, he says at one point Christmas is a week away. And so right now today, Christmas is a week away. So we
It's
can
next
imagine
Monday.
this is happening somewhere
Like
in North
Kismet.
Dakota right now.
When
That's
I
right.
read that, I cackled because my pattern recognition was going so far off the radar. And I'm like, I really hope the others recognize that it's technically today.
Yeah.
So if
When
you
they
see, let's hope a
Yeah.
meteor doesn't land.
Right?
I actually
yeah,
have
Which
prairie dogs like across the street from my house. There's a prairie dog field. It's not as cold here, so they're not hibernating. They're up.
here,
But
yeah.
I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Keep an eye on them.
Uh-huh.
Keep
Which
an eye
for
on 'em.
those that like get to watch this, I think is absolutely fabulous. We did not plan it that way for us to have the meeting. That was pure kismet. I think when Jess was like, oh,
I
we were all
like it's just so perfection. This is the perfect day. Like annually, this should be the day to read Frostbite.
I
Is
agree.
like before Christmas when the
Frostbite Day.
events are happening. Yeah,
I think-
National Frostbite
think-
Day.
I think
I love it.
Angela is the I feel like she's like the pinnacle moment for DFCC because the blurb on the front cover, Gwendolyn, who was our first pick,
Oh
was
yeah.
your blurb. And yeah, she was our first read. We did
I love
Reluctant Immortals.
Gwendolyn. She's so great.
I love her too.
She is wonderful. And so we were so excited when we noticed on the front, because we like to have kind of like themes each month. And so then we noticed, we were like, oh. And then we were like, oh.
It all
And now
comes
like the
full
date,
circle.
and we're like, oh. So it's just perfect.
The
It's
little
just
things
great.
just excite us.
That's
Right.
right.
Right?
As well as Brian McCauley on the back, because he was one of
Oh.
our other options for this month as well.
Oh yeah.
love-
Was it
we
Candy
love
King
Brian.
Kills you were gonna
Yes.
read? Okay, you should definitely still read that. I just finished it and I loved
Over
it.
there.
It's on the TBR.
It's also a
What are
novella,
you
so it's like
you-
easy to
Yeah.
sneak
Yeah.
in
A
before the
quick
end of the
chunk.
year. Mhm.
I'm excited. It's staring at me
Um,
from across my living room.
So I want to talk about it's not I think we could get pretty deep into this and it not get too spoilery. The Satanic Panic, the cult type thing, which is in some ways Zebediah's behavior is scarier than any alien infected animal
That's
could
right.
ever be.
Yeah.
And I think that you captured it so perfectly how scary it is when people are brainwashed
Yeah.
with it's very scary and disturbing and chef's kiss.
Definitely.
It was more unnerving than
Mhm.
rabid children coming off buses.
It is because they don't have control of themselves, right? But like
Mhm.
logical, reasonable people have a choice in their behavior. So I agree with you completely. That is like way scarier to me. And I'm like pretty obsessed with cults. So if you ever read anything else I write, there's a lot of cults find their way in there because I just am like obsessed with them.
Oh my God.
I actually, when I was in college, I ended up getting a degree in Eastern and alternative religions and philosophy because I kind of like just started getting obsessed with cults and different religions. So I like also got that degree in addition to the one that I actually could get a job with. And I had two professors that were a professor that was in the Da Free John cult in California, which was like a 60s cult, like a free love kind of cult that was very dangerous. And then I actually, one of my other professors lost her sister and nephew at Jonestown, at the Jonestown massacre. They were they were two of the people that were killed in that massacre. And so I think that just started my like obsession. Like, how do people fall for this? How does it go so far? Like, how is a cult leader made?
Yeah.
And then also, I think even just going through the pandemic and everything and seeing how people can justify like things, like anything they possibly want to believe, they can justify.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know, so even mainstream religion, sometimes there's like some pretty disturbing stuff there, or like preppers, you know, things like that. So I think it all just came together to Reverend Zebediah.
Yeah, very beautifully. Love that his name wasn't even Zebediah.
No, I'm okay with this. I'm okay. We're okay.
We know that's a fake. I mean, who's in North Dakota, whose parents would name them Zebediah? Like, of course you're gonna pick like a new cool name for yourself.
Like, what out of the children of the corn? Like, what is happening here? That doesn't seem right. Like, come on.
Like, how could
It's
you
so
even
out of
fall
place.
for his shtick?
Exactly. And I think it's really interesting because when I started reading, I was reading on and off. So when Jonestown did come up, and like you said, Angela, with like how do people subscribe to that mentality and join cults and stuff like that? I have an anthropology degree. I can answer that very short and simple. They like cult leaders prey on communities because a lot of people are wayward. They're looking for something to believe in, to, you know, have faith in. And it's very easy when you have a large community that needs something. And when someone dies and there's a hole, it's easy to put yourself in that hole. And they start out tame, like, oh yeah, I can get behind this. And then over time, subtly, they become more extreme and no one really notices until it's too late.
Yeah,
Angela's
exactly.
gonna learn.
The sheer
We
amount of
love
charisma
cults
these
around
people have
here.
as well is off the charts.
Well, and
This is
one of the things that I heard someone say about the book was, well, I didn't really I don't know that I believe like you just stop, a cult would stop, or like you'd stop believing in it in the end. So I just want to tell you, in like, trust me, this cult is not going away.
we I feel like we manifested him. We spoke him into
I know.
existence.
We spoke his name and he appeared.
I feel like we said Candy Cane Kills like 3 times, and now Brian appeared.
Yeah. But you beat him out. Frostbite
Like
won.
Candyman.
It's Brian.
We were just talking about,
welcome.
I just finished Candy Cane Kills, and I'm about to post a review tomorrow, by the way. And these guys have it on their TBR. So we manifested you.
Thank you for summoning me.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yep.
Yeah, we were just talking about cults and how we
As
all
one
kind of
does,
like
you know, casually.
cults.
Where do I sign
I
up?
mean, we do.
Have, you know, what is it? You make more money as a leader, have more fun as a follower.
That's probably
the same.
true. Yeah, it gets to be a lot of work if you're the cult leader, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, like making the punch.
Yeah, the Kool-Aid or
Yeah.
whatever.
Sandwiches. You know what? That's why you run a sandwich shop.
Yes, and that's true. There's one in here in Colorado that runs a sandwich shop. You must know about that.
There's Yellow Deli.
Yes,
Yellow
Is it
Deli's
also a
one.
cult?
Oh, apparently there are like popular tea companies that we all see in Walmart, like popular department stores. Sleepy Time and Yogi, they are led by cults, apparently. I found that out yesterday.
Yeah, me
They're all-
too.
I
We
work
saw the
for
same
Apple.
TikTok.
Apple is a cult.
Wait, what about
I have worked for
There's
Apple for
tenants.
9 years.
I will say
It is a
there's
cult.
tenants. There are specific tenants that you have to
I
have
know.
to.
I'm a member of the Apple cult, I have to admit.
Yeah, I
is,
mean, I am
Celest-
too.
is
too.
celestial seasonings safe? Because my tension tamer tea, I can't give that up. I'll have to join the cult if that's the choice.
We all have our point. Like everyone's
Right.
got that thing.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
You just have to know what you're willing to do for it. Like, what would be too much to ask of you before you'd be like, okay, I can't drink this tea anymore.
It's true. I feel
Also-
like everyone has a point,
Yeah.
right? Like there's like,
Hopefully.
this is a fun social activity.
Yep. Also, I want to like include real quick while we're talking about like brands suddenly like being ran by cults. Apparently there is research being conducted about Elf Cosmetics and their connections to Nixium
The next year?
Oh, that's not a
with their
good one.
advertising.
That ain't a fun one.
So if you guys want, there's already a
intrigued.
few YouTube video essays
Okay.
about the topic, but I normally wear Elf Cosmetics because I have sensitive skin and
That's
it's
gonna be a
cheap and I don't
pain
wear
for
makeup a
later.
lot. And so that's
Yeah,
all I
writing
can
that
think
down.
about.
Good to
So
know.
one of I know one of my favorite things, and I love that. I don't want to say that it's a trend because I don't like that because I feel like it denotes the quality of it, and I know that it's like a big thing to do now, and I love it because I'm a DJ's daughter, but I love that playlists are coming back for books. Like
Me too.
thematic playlists are making a giant comeback. I know you and I have chatted about this because I messaged and I was like, I see you. How when you were doing Frostbite, because I know we've stated that we love the way you like layer in these just delightfully nostalgic, palpable bites. When you were going through and we're like, where are we going with this? What kind of like helped guide your like music taste for this? Was there like a radio station that you had growing up, or something that you wanted just to be like on brand, or because that is what my Spotify has pretty much been the last like 2 weeks was just the Frostbite
Yeah.
playlist. So
I'm definitely like a fan of 90s alternative rock. Like I was a Nirvana fan myself, and there was just everything that was on the radio at that time. So truly it just started by me making a list of songs I liked and then thinking like where they fit. And then kind of filling in the gaps, right? If there wasn't one I had already thought of that fit, then maybe I would go hunting a little bit to say like what bands were popular, or what have I missed here that maybe it wasn't one of my favorites at the time, but would be the perfect fit for this. And to get like super technical because I didn't want to like beat people over the head with the nostalgia, like all the 90s references and events and music. I actually made a spreadsheet of every mention of something nostalgic in every chapter so that and
love
then
that.
took some things out because like at times it got to be like too much. Like I think it took you out of the story. So I tried to make it so it's kind of peppered in, but not too much. So
Like
I
the
love that.
Chanel advice, isn't it? Like look at yourself
Right.
before you leave and
Take
take off an
2 off.
accessory.
Look, Chanel
Exactly.
wasn't a maximalist,
That's
okay?
perfect.
Yeah, take 2 references out of every chapter. Yeah.
That's such a smart process.
I am really excited to figure out where Jamiroquai is fitting in the story. Because everything else I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like I can see that. Oh yeah, I feel like that's on brand. And now I'm like, yeah.
Even just the references to like popular music at the time, like was it described it was like the combination of Michael Myers and the guy from Limp Bizkit, the character. I was like,
Yeah.
Yep.
I can see that very clearly in my head now.
It's okay. My favorite song, which is I have to preface this. My mom really was into like Europop when I was itty bitty, and I know all the Aqua songs by heart on every album. And so seeing Barbie Girl and its placement in the book, you're right. I can't be right. Because it would be playing during something like that. Insipidly, just on loop. Like I've worked retail, I've worked in thrift stores, and it's always those types of songs that just play when the worst thing happens.
Yep. When I was in college, which would have been like right around, I'm about the same age Realene is. And I worked at Spencer Gifts in the mall
Bless.
5 years. So yes,
Bless.
basically it was that soundtrack like all the time.
That's amazing.
Aqua was definitely on there.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, like the one that I really truly lost it over though was the skating rink with the speakers on the outside blaring New Pollution. For whatever reason, I thought that was the funniest thing.
That was based on a real skating rink in my town called Gateway Skateway was the name of the actual skating rink. And it was the hot spot to be, like Stranger Things style.
Yeah.
I just changed it a little bit. The other thing that is real from my life is the tiger. So my
I
town,
forgot I wanted to ask about that.
Murray.
my town really had like a furniture store owner.
I was gonna say, are you American Furniture Warehouse town?
Actually, no, I take that back. She was it was a carpet store.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Carpet store tiger was definitely a real thing in my town.
Oh my God.
People are so eccentric.
Well, we
Yeah.
have one here in
It's
Houston.
amazing.
Mattress Mac has a tiger.
Yeah, what is
Really?
it about people that do like
Wait.
interior furniture and carpeting? And
Why do they want
I
tigers?
know American Furniture Warehouse has a tiger.
Yeah,
He's
that's
got a
right.
tiger.
No, Mattress Mac has all kinds of stuff.
I
He has
love him.
monkeys.
He is a national treasure. He's a treasure.
Also, I have to say 1998, literally around the corner of, this December timeline is the year of the tiger. And so I sat there and when I saw Murray, I was like, if he survives this, his year is coming. I should
never
know.
thought
I
of
was
that.
born in
That's
98.
great.
Like,
That's true.
Yeah.
Very true.
Was it,
Yeah, of all the
Angela,
things-
was the time period part of the concept to begin with, or did you come up with like the story and the premise and then decide when to set it?
I definitely knew I wanted it to be nostalgic, like, because I just thought it would make, honestly, writing horror comedy easier. You know this, Brian, from Candy Cane Kills. I think nostalgia and horror comedy like go hand in hand. So I knew I wanted to do it in the 80s or 90s. I figured like that would be a good fit. But then maybe I was just being lazy since I'm about the same age as Realene.
No, that
Like,
makes
well, I
total
would be
sense.
able to figure out the references way easier if I just said it at a time I was alive and just of a similar age.
That was why I did it with Candy Cane Kills, because I was like, all right, the main characters are teenagers. And then I was like, am I really going to write 2023 teenagers? Don't think I will. I think I'm going to go back to 2005 when I was a teenager.
You're
Well,
like,
and I'm a big-
definitely going to be more authentic here.
Yeah.
And that's my thing. I think there's something to be said for authenticity of like, I feel like it's an old hat saying like, write what you know, but there's something about like your readers
Yeah.
do catch the authenticity. They do appreciate and will like, your readers will find you and they will appreciate the work you put in.
The 90s are having the time because Stranger Things was the big thing, but 80s are over. We got to focus on the 90s now, people, because they rock. So,
Yeah, which I love. I'm glad. I mean, I like the 80s too, but I'm excited
yeah,
about
yeah.
Yeah, but let's be real. The 90s, like the 80s didn't have.
But everything
Rufus
because
Salt,
of
so.
Stranger Things, anything that's set in the 80s gets marked as like, it's like Stranger Things, but it's not like Stranger Things at all. So then if you're in the 90s, it's like, it's our own thing. We ain't connected to Stranger Things at all. We don't know about them.
It's true.
We weren't.
What
Let
were
me-
some of your favorite like creature features growing up, Angela? I'm so curious about like
Well,
Do you have like memories of monster movies that were like when you first saw and you were like, whoa?
for sure. Probably my earliest memory, and I was trying to figure this out the other day. I think I was only like 7, was Cat's Eye, with Lil Drew Barrymore
Yep.
and the hero cat. So like, and the little creature who's gonna kill her and the hero cat. So I truly remember that creature trying to sneak into my room. Like I hallucinated that little troll peeking through my door when I was 7 and me being like, so that was like my first memory of a creature.
That's
And
horrifying.
really wanting a cat, which eventually I did once I was an adult. I got a cat, um, but then also like Critters, Gremlins, for sure were huge ones and huge influences on this too. Those are probably like my biggest memories, Critters and Gremlins.
Yeah.
Mhm.
We actually watched Gremlins as a group together, and it was my first time watching it.
What?
It was an amazing experience.
It's so
That
It
must
good.
have been so trippy to watch it for the first time and be like, how
Yeah.
did this get made? What is happening here?
We we had a lot a lot of reactions going on his face because I could not comprehend like that it was real.
And I think the emotion always like I've seen Gremlins many times. It's like an annual rewatch. But I always like forget it gets kind of emotional about her dad dying. And I'm always like,
Best
oh,
scene.
they like really got me with that one. It's like you don't expect it to get that sad and real.
That's what I'm gonna say about your book, Angela.
Oh yeah.
Very
Yeah.
funny, but almost made me cry. Like
Yeah.
it got the emotion that I do not get from a lot of books, but it also was making me laugh and the nostalgia. Like it was like so multifaceted and done so well.
Yeah, I was trying to sneak some emotion in there when you weren't necessarily expecting it.
It really packed a punch. It really did.
It
And I gotta
is.
say, the defibrillator, I don't know if this reference is correct, but I kept calling it Chekhov's defibrillator because I was like, this is gonna get used at some point. I know it. It's been brought up twice. It's gotta come up some point, and I'm not gonna like it when it does.
Yep.
Yeah, the mix of like horror and humor and heart. Like, do you, two questions. First part is kind of connected, but like, do you outline a story like this? And kind of secondary or connected to that is like, are you thinking scene to scene or moment to moment about like, okay, I'm going to have a really emotional scene and then I'm going to move towards comedy or horror and take it back out of that? Like, how do you navigate the pacing of those elements?
I do outline longer works because it's really hard not to and have things make sense. But I think there's a certain amount of instinct, which probably you feel too, Brian, of like just kind of knowing like naturally where you can kind of get away with some lightness or you need it, and where you kind of need to lean into the emotion and let people sit with it for a little bit. Um, Also, I think kind of, from the writer's point of view, story structure helps, right? Like I knew she had to have like a black moment where everything is terrible and it's all her fault. And it has to be like the worst possible moment. So you kind of have to like live in that a little bit so that she can then like overcome it. So
Yeah. The dark night of the soul.
yeah, exactly.
Oh no.
She hasn't finished the book yet, so we're just like, we're kind of said we could like touch on spoilers, but not totally spoiler anything. So now she's like in for it.
I do want to say I really enjoy the pacing of the book because it made it really hard to want to put it down. And like Gremlins, it's full throttle throughout. It's consistent pacing, but you're also like, I'm not really sure where it's going to go next because this is happening all so fast, which is really great for readers who may like come to have predictability about certain things of like certain tropes or certain themes. And I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I'm just here for the ride at this point.
Yeah. Well, and I didn't actually start writing until I was in my 30s. I'm in my 40s now, by the way. And so I think really I write like I'm writing a movie because I
I
never
love it.
learned to write when I was
Jess
young.
and I were talking about that earlier. We're just saying how cinematic this felt. Like I'm one of those people who I see things when I read, but sometimes they're not fully formed. It's not like watching a movie, but there were scenes in here that I could see it so perfectly play out in my head. Like even just like one of the descriptions in the action scenes was about the truck that has the trail of lights as it's like careening off of something, and I could just absolutely see that in my head
Yeah,
as a movie. And the pacing, like Mackenzie said too, and you know what it reminded me of a little bit, the really great mix of horror and comedy and that emotional gut punch was Shaun of the Dead.
I love Shaun
Oh my,
Dead.
it,
Yes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
It's given like Anna of the Apocalypse, Shaun of the Dead.
Mhm.
Yeah, it very, very much is.
Even
it very much is.
I don't know if you've seen Attack the Block, but had like some of those vibes too, like with the alien invasion.
Yeah.
And just that saving the world has come down to what people normally are like, oh, they're the lowest class of society. Like Attack the Block was a group of chavs on a council estate, and this is people, you know, people are calling Realene trailer trash. Like,
They're the ones that save you.
they show up during the alien invasion.
Are movies a like big like as far as like what you grew up on and what your reference points are they more movies than books or vice versa, or is it like a mix? I'm always curious about different writers coming from like different reference points, but yeah.
Probably both. I mean, I think I definitely lots of movies. I grew up in a very poor family, but one thing we always made sure we had enough money for was HBO. So there was
Them
always
some
TV.
priorities.
It did not matter what you had to give up, you were getting your HBO. So there was a lot of like TV I shouldn't have been watching from a young age. But then also like Stephen King, reading Stephen King too young is a pretty like common theme among horror writers. But that too, like I remember going and buying Stephen King books for $1 at the thrift store and stuff when I was like in junior high. So I think it probably both were just like stewing in my brain, even though I didn't try to do it, you know, actually write things at that age. Probably they were informing how eventually I would.
I have a question, and it's are there any potential plans on, especially because some of us who may have accidentally flipped to the end of the book and had something accidentally revealed to us on accident. Oops. Are there any plans to potentially do an audiobook?
There are, yeah. It should come out in March of 2024.
Holla.
The plan. So yes,
I love
plans for an
that.
audiobook, yes. And then plans
that.
for technically it's planned to be a 3-book series, but you know, it would need to still like keep doing okay enough to make it 3 books. So as of right now, there will definitely be a sequel.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's what I was going to
2024.
ask, because I think it's the acknowledgments, you mentioned that you were going to make it, went from a novella to a novel to a series,
Yeah.
and that's amazing. I am really bad at like picking up second books, but like I need more Realene.
Great.
I need her in my life.
Yeah. I love that you can tell that the Goosebumps generation is now in control. Those of us who were like raised on like Night of the Living Dummy, who was like like the Haunted Mask part 2. Like we're now like no. We're making the rules here. It's fine.
The one with the
We know what we
cat
want.
that scratches
Yeah.
her or bites her and turns her into a cat. Like
Yes.
that kept popping up in my head a couple times with the animal to human infection. I'm like,
That's a good
Oh
one.
yeah.
Yeah, and
Those of us who like watched the 80s movies and knew the second, like the unhinged sequels were always the best ones. We're like, shh, we got it. It's okay.
So how has that been? Did you know there was going to be a sequel when you wrote the first one? And either way, what does it feel like writing is this your first time writing a sequel? And what does that feel
Yeah,
like? Approach?
I mean, I knew before before it was published, before I
Okay.
finished. So I knew I needed to do a little bit of something that could be carried over into book 2.
Yeah.
And yeah, it feels weird to have that frankly, to have someone have that much confidence in you, to have the publisher be like, because even before the book came out, we knew we were going to do book 2, like I already signed the contract. So it felt weird that they had that much confidence it was going to do well enough to justify that. So now it's probably mostly a little pressure, like, well, okay, so now I have to deliver. But hopefully I will be able to.
Of course, it'll be amazing.
And this is my first novel. I have written a couple of other unpublished novels, but I've never written a sequel to anything. So yeah, this will be my first sequel. We'll see how it goes.
Awesome. I can't wait. Also, I love how in the book the animals just kept getting bigger and bigger. Start off with a prairie dog, end up with a bison.
Yeah.
Those things
The
are terrifying.
moose is literally megafauna.
The moose scared me. Like,
Yeah, I feel like I'd be scared if a moose was like approaching my car.
yeah, because I've seen a bison in real life. I've never seen a moose in real life, so it's even more scarier because I don't even know.
Yeah.
Some of you guys very clearly have never been to the animal part of Great Adventure, Six Flags.
Oh yeah.
Some of you guys have very clearly never driven through the safari part.
in Jackson, New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never went to Six Flags, but we did have like literally school field trips when I was living in North Dakota. You would go to the buffalo farm and like see the buffalo and stuff. So that was a real thing. Basically, I just Googled what animals live in North Dakota.
Yeah.
Who would be away, even though I lived there, I may not know all of them. Who would be awake in winter? Who would reasonably come around when it's this cold out, and then just infect them all, essentially.
I love it. It's terrifying. We
So
also
I have a question.
go ahead, Laura.
I definitely had a favorite, I guess, death scene for one of the
Right?
little infected critters. I was
Oh.
wondering if you had one that was your favorite to write, or just like what was that like? Because there were so many just funny things that happened in getting rid of some of the prairie dogs in particular.
We're just like favorite part of the book because this is a book.
Yeah, what does your
how much fun was that to
guy,
write?
what
Well,
does your does the dog guy page look like? Because it's gonna be filled from this book.
Yeah, I think you have to be a little twisted and enjoy writing deaths in this kind of book for sure. And I think I would pick my favorite by like, I remember coming out of my office after writing it and just laughing and telling my partner, like, oh my God, you're never going to guess what I just did. And he was definitely like, cool. That's cool. Yeah, that sounds great. But it was, everyone made it past the snowmobile scene, where Nate battles his father. Okay.
Haley, take a bathroom break.
Yeah.
That would probably be my favorite one, is
That was
like,
pretty great.
because it was like, what is quintessentially North Dakotan weapon that you wouldn't think would be a weapon? And someone I really want to die because he's like an abusive asshole. So what's like a really crazy, weird way you could kill him? So that one was probably my most fun to write. It wasn't an animal death, it was a person death.
It was my most favorite too.
I mean, a deer was involved, so technically
Yes.
it's a 2-for-1 special.
And one of the deer did get like shoveled as well, so
Yeah,
that was cool.
I also want to say I really like how some of the deaths doubled as like especially with the cultist theme going on, like some of the people that were chosen to die were like reflections of inner demons in a way.
Totally. Yes. Yeah. You're right. Mm-hmm.
I also like how Calvin survived. And in the beginning, I did not like Calvin, but
I came
by
to
the
love
end,
him.
Everyone loves him.
I came to love him so much.
I get a lot of
We
comments.
love a redemption arc.
whenever he said one of his colloquialisms, colder than a witch's tit, is that what it is?
Yeah.
I it's just so perfect.
Or maybe it was penguin's pecker. I think it's colder than a penguin's pecker. It might be.
Yeah. He has the best. He's like,
They were just great.
yeah, just perfect.
He grows
Yeah.
on you for sure. And I think it's really funny because, like, as a person who heavily relates to Realene and Nate not wanting to hurt animals or whatever, and he just, being a regular Norman Bates and not really caring, and is like, well, it's either me or them, and I choose myself.
Yeah,
Like,
Calvin had
I've-
no issues. He was
Yeah.
ready to kill them all.
No. And you kind of need someone like that on your side in this scenario. So,
Yeah, for sure. It worked out. Even though it was down for the count for a little bit, they got him back in the end.
like the parts where it's like, okay, Calvin, it's fine, we're gonna go do this now, like the light patronizing because you can't really do anything and you're just trying to keep it together and not like lash out because it'll make matters worse. And I think that's one of the things that I really did enjoy with the infection is like the level of confusion that mimicked Ma and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Meaning Realene was a very particularly good set up protagonist for dealing with all of this.
Yeah.
Especially
And
with Med.
basically, I was like, okay, her mom's going through dementia. What's the worst possible thing that could happen to her? Her entire town gets dementia.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's kind of where the idea started.
Yeah. It went together perfect. Because every time someone would be like, wait, who are you? You're like, oh shit.
Your heart
they're
drops.
infected. Yeah. Like
Again.
Yeah. So they're infected.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was very beautiful.
So I put a
Oh,
picture
man.
in the chat, and even though it was never described in this way, in my heart, this is how I feel Calvin does his taxidermy.
That's what
Of all the
Calvin's
prairie
house
dogs.
looks like.
Yeah,
That would be awesome. Maybe he'll
prairie
meet
dogs
like,
in weird poses.
I feel like he's gonna meet a lady and his taxidermy group
Hmm.
and they're gonna fall in love or something. And she's gonna do these like fancy dancing prairie dogs to his
Yeah.
traditional ones.
It'll be like
Yeah.
dinner schmucks.
Sell them on
Yes.
Etsy.
Exactly.
Hey, it works. I'd buy one.
As long as that man has friends, I'm okay. It makes him a little bit more human to me versus like the scariest thing of going to any barbecue diner, seeing taxidermied animals. I can't even imagine what it felt like being in this trailer.
Isn't that creepy? That was definitely the worst like research rabbit hole I went down.
Ah.
It was like learning too much about taxidermy, I was like, I don't want to know this.
Clear my search history.
Yeah.
That was going to be
gross.
my next question was, what was the most uncomfortable, I swear I'm a writer, research you had to do
Probably
for the
that.
book?
I mean, I also know a lot about prairie dogs now too, but like their whole language and everything. But yeah, taxidermy, that was like, I don't know. I saw some things I didn't want to see.
Yeah, I bet.
One of my favorite Facebook pages for the longest time was Bad Taxidermy.
Oh,
I remember that page. Yeah. I
That's
saw a
good.
taxidermied raccoon with his hand in a peanut butter jar. And if I had $200 to blow, I would have bought
That's
that.
amazing.
In real life, he was standing in front of me with his hands in a Jif peanut butter jar. And it was
If you have the picture, you need to put it in the chat because it
I
is
need to.
glorious.
I
It is
love
glorious.
I'm surprised Kaylee's not talking about the WAD collection in Houston because she thought I was going to freak out because of all the
I do love the
taxidermy
wild
in there,
collection.
which I kind of did. I ended up just being like,
You have to be okay with it.
because they
It
were
is. It is.
massive.
I mean, they were huge. They were like giraffes, and there were like zebra. Like it was its own. It was its own adventure.
Wow.
It was. Yeah, it was really intense.
It was definitely a goth dream.
Everything
Everything
was
else
bigger
in there
than
was
you.
perfect and great. Just the taxidermy and the skeletons.
Yeah.
Just a little too much.
Have you ever been to Cabela's, the store Cabela's, or Shields?
Or
Shields?
like Bass Pro Shop.
Yeah.
Like the
Is
big Bass
Shields-
Pro Shops in like Nashville
Yeah.
and stuff.
I
Oh
went to
They have
yeah.
like
Shields in South
mountains of
Dakota.
taxidermied animals. Ooh,
Yeah, bears and stuff.
yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
I always feel like it's gonna be like a night at the museum situation. And I'm like, I
I
don't want to take my
don't-
chances.
You're always
What's
disappointed.
the T. Kingfisher book? The Hollow Places. Have you read that one?
That was
I
on my
haven't read
list. I
that
haven't read it yet.
Woo!
That one yet.
There may or may
I will
not
say-
be something of what you're describing here.
Okay, great. See, because I root for
We're
those
all
animals
like-
to wake up. Like, I want them to wake up and get their revenge. They deserve it.
Yeah.
I was
Uh,
very thankful that Calvin was just like a crotchety old man and not crazy like Norman Bates, because there, you know, with horror, there's always going to be some reference there. And I'm like, oh, he's normal. Thank goodness.
At least he wasn't like moving on to people and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
The fine creepy line of
Mhm.
like, are you eccentric? Or are you like
A psychopath.
yeah. Yeah. Like are you just like generationally cursed,
Mm.
undiagnosed,
Mm,
a product of
Mhm.
your time, or are you a threat?
yeah. Yeah.
I
that's a
have
fine
a
line.
question that you brought up the 90s candy, so I wanted to posit. Let's say it's the 90s, you're at Blockbuster, you've got Total Recall. What candy are you putting on the counter?
Okay, I love this
Take
question.
home. Yeah.
Mine is hot tamales. I
Oh,
love hot tamales.
Okay.
What's yours?
I'm Reese's. I'm basic.
Oh,
I
I love
love a
Reese's, yeah.
Reese's. Love
Mhm.
a Reese's cup.
Oh, you're Sour Patch Kids?
Sour girl.
I'm a big sour head, so I would have probably gone sour Skittles, but Sour Patch Kids was right up there too, for sure. Sour.
So interesting.
Me personally, the only thing coming to mind is like, and I have no idea when they started popping up, because I didn't develop consciousness until I was like 5 years old. Okay.
Yeah, you're the
That's
baby.
2003 roughly. They would have these like pre-made in ball form in a blue bag, cotton candy.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I would normally ask my mom, can I get that every time we went into Blockbuster? And she'd be like, no, absolutely not. So I would default to like a Crunch bar or a Twix.
Oh, Crunch. I did love a Crunch bar.
The Crunch a Bunch was I liked as well, like
Me
the
too. The
Best movie
clusters.
candy.
kind of pop them.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twizzlers.
I was always like you had to balance it out, so you wanted like a sweet and a salty. And I had siblings who wouldn't ever let me have anything of my own. I'm looking at you. And so it was always Reese Pieces and Mike and Ike's. That's what we're slamming on the
Okay.
counter.
Love it. I am like truly in real life a candy addict, by the way. So I love all candies.
If you
I
had to
love
like be in the same situation where it's like no real food, just candy, what would get you through a day like that?
Yeah, that's a toughie because you want nutrition. I feel like if you're making a smart choice, something with peanuts. So
Mhm.
Yeah,
the
like a
protein-
Snickers or something. Yeah.
Snickers is.
I don't know. That's the choice I would make, but that's probably like the smart
Payday.
choice.
Yeah.
Like
By
a
that
Snickers.
criteria.
Yeah.
I think
Satisfied.
paydays
That's
are like
their whole.
literally
That's the
coated in
whole like.
peanuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole shtick of Snickers is that
Snickers
if you're
satisfies.
hangry, You eat a Snickers and you're back to normal.
That's right. It's like a whole meal. Their ad campaign worked on me.
Yeah.
I have like nerds on a rope strapped around me like bandoliers
Oh my
going.
God.
Like
I love a good nerd rope. It's gummy and crunchy.
best of both worlds.
Yeah. Yeah.
Twizzlers
They
are
do
great
those little
to send your siblings
clusters.
away.
Oh, the nerds clusters? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I just pop them.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Twizzlers are great as a self-defense weapon.
Yeah, you can like
You just
smack.
you whack them.
I love this. Yeah, candy
I
is
miss the
weapons.
Twizzlers you could pull apart easily.
Well, to be fair, we would need to go with red vines because they're not as great. That is polarizing. I'm making a stance. I said what I said.
I'm just seeing in my head like if Vanellope from Wreck-It Ralph was a final girl. She's got like a bandolier of candy and
Oh,
red vine whip.
I love it.
It's good. It's a vibe. It's for sure a vibe.
I have another question for you. Do you have any specific like rituals or things you have to do to sit down and get writing? Or if you're doing a particular type of scene or not really?
Not much. Music is a big part for, I really do legitimately love music outside of making playlists and stuff. So I cannot write in silence. I must have like some sort of distraction that fits the mood of what I'm writing. So
Mhm.
like 90s alternative playlists were definitely on in the background all the time when I was writing Frostbite, or I might take it down a notch if it's something sad. I might put something a little more moody and like instrumental. But yeah, that's pretty much the only one, just music and making myself not look at social media.
Oh,
Like you
yeah.
can't open
People don't
Instagram or
want
like, okay, you need to like, you're on your computer, but you need to actually write. That's pretty much it.
I do have a question because I thought it was funny because growing up with Kaylee, we were very into the Spice Girls and like the poppy things and the things that would catch your attention as a young child, of course. And Kaylee, I do apologize. You may need
Oh, I'm
to
about to
sit-
get dragged. I
No,
feel like I'm
you may
about to
need
get-
to like
Oh,
cover
okay.
your ears. It's kind of a spoiler. But like I thought it was really interesting that Spice Girls came up a few times, especially the cutout for Spice World.
Yeah.
Because in Spice World, they do have an alien come down. Well,
Yeah.
a pot of them, but like, was that on purpose or was that just like with the theme of like Realene not liking the more poppy bubblegum stuff of the 90s?
So first off, I love this picture of the
Yes.
of the
I want him so bad.
raccoon. That's amazing.
Can't justify $200.
And as far as the Spice Girls, I was in Raylene's camp at the time, but I did not like them. I was like too cool for the Spice Girls and too alternative. I was like, oh my God. Plus I worked at Spencer's.
Yeah.
And so it was like, we were selling Spice Girls posters left and right. They were just like in my face all the time. So I remembered that and I did carry that through to her feelings about the Spice Girls. Now I probably don't feel so like, objectionable about them. Like I think they were cool, girl power,
Yeah.
So I like how they
Okay.
made an appearance.
I love that.
Mhm.
I like that the
so
prairie dogs made a bridge.
Yeah,
That
they're
was
very resourceful.
Yeah.
the unhinged urge I have right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Girl. Yeah.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah. I knew that this was gonna make you be like, oh, I have to like do this.
Oh,
right now.
I am a bubblegum grunge bitch through and through.
I know.
Through and through.
I know.
Yes.
Good for it. Yeah, I love it. I think I am
We
too,
are-
really. I was just a little in denial at the time. Like I wanted to be a little more hardcore than I actually was,
Yeah, me too. I
But now
definitely
I've
relate to
accepted
that.
Yeah.
Like secretly listening to Taylor Swift when her first album came out because it was country music. And I did not, I
Oh,
cannot listen. It's Green Day and My Chemical Romance. Like I'm like too emo to listen to this preppy little girl sing about Romeo, but I secretly listen to it.
No, the Spice Girls were like my sexual awakening. There was no question. My mom had no doubts. My mom was like, we're gonna keep an eye there.
And that movie, you got to see boy butts. It was a very bi awakening.
Yes.
You got boy butts.
It was all around awakening.
Absolutely.
I remember I would watch the part for the boy butts, but then you also had the hot girls, and I was like, what is happening?
Meanwhile, I was in the corner and just really wanted the
chaps.
TP from the like scene where they're all running through rainbow tires. And even though I watched this movie so often, I cannot like convey in words what this was. This training, this music boot camp that they had, that TP, I wanted that.
And Meatloaf. Meatloaf is a whole other awakening.
Meat's in it.
I have it on VHS, but no way to watch it.
You have it on VHS?
Yeah. Spice World.
Summer Party VHSs.
Yeah, it's really hard to
I
find.
don't have a VHS player.
I can get you a VHS player.
Everybody, we're driving. We're driving to West Texas.
Spice World has a 3.6 on IMDb. Delete app.
Nobody.
Dude.
3.6, that's low.
Quick, we have a rating. We have to like rating flood it.
They don't appreciate satire at its finest. Oh my goodness.
We need to do the opposite. We need to do the opposite of what that one person did last week.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we'll like up the score.
We won't talk about
we
that.
Need to buckaroo. We need to buckaroo flood it. We need to be like, no. It's a positive.
That's right.
All the stars. All the stars.
Yes. Oh my God. Master of Disguise with Dana Carvey has the 3.3. How? How is it so close?
Very watchable.
I get on IMDb and I go through holes.
It seems like a great time to talk about the taxidermy fight. Because that was maybe
using
the greatest thing I've ever read.
Yeah, that was fun.
That's another funny one.
It was really funny.
There were a lot of really good like action and fight scenes that were hilarious and funny and also like but that I think was my absolute favorite. Like it was like grabbed another squirrel and threw it. I was like,
it was hard to visualize. That one I had a few versions of because I was like, this isn't quite, the choreography is kind of complicated.
Yeah. And it was in a trailer, like not a big space.
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, so it's like tight. Oh my gosh. That's the kind of scenes, like your action scenes
so fun.
are what I can, like me and Laura were talking about. I can so clearly see this happening on my screen. Like if I look at my TV, I can see this. And that doesn't always happen with books. But there were so many times like I could picture it in my head, like the scene at Blockbuster. This is a very little thing that you did at the very beginning when she gets the VHS, is him moving the VHS on the other side of the thing that you walk through, because that is so specific to like a memory that unlocked, because I'm like, that's what they did so that you couldn't steal. I didn't even know why they did it. I was just like, all right, I guess I'll walk through my movies on the other side. But it was little things like that just made it so atmospheric that I could see it happening before me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I really like writing nostalgia. It's like almost like having an inside joke or a secret with someone, you know?
Yeah.
You're like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But action themes in general are totally fun.
Yeah.
Not me heavily relating to the children picking up the ball pit balls when they came out of the play place. I remember what that smelled like.
Doing those anymore.
Yeah, you just want like hand sanitizer or something when you think of it.
Yeah, I was like, I feel like I need to go take 10,000 showers.
No. Oh yeah.
But as
there is a parabola of ball pit where you're like, ball pit? ball pit, and then you hop in the ball pit and you're like, oh, ball pit.
Oh no.
Yeah. Like I feel like Grease. I feel like Grease. They all felt like Grease. And when you're out in the
Why?
sun in Texas in the summer, and the ball pit would just be like so hot and greasy. No
It looks
good.
like a lot more
They
fun
let
than
us
it.
do
Ball pits in Scotland were different. I don't know what happened to you guys as
a
children,
cleaner people, maybe.
Well, I
I was
mean,
about to
when
say,
you have a ball pit in a
feral
place where
children.
you hire minimum wage high schoolers, no one's gonna keep care of it.
No one
It's always
takes
gonna
care of
feel
the ball pit.
gross.
No one thinks of the children.
The children. Yep.
I have
Just
to
love how
run,
the-
but congratulations,
Bye, Brian.
Angela.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much for coming,
It's-
Brian.
Thank you for stopping by.
Can't wait to read the
Thank you for
sequel.
coming.
Thanks for having me. Have a great night, everybody.
You too.
Bye. Okay, yeah. So, oh, fudge. I'm sure there's so much more that I had thought of, but my brain goes to mush as we've gone off track a billion times. But Laura, you've
I know
done
Angela's getting like, we were so like
this is really
thrilled
us, but we're trying to be a
that
little bit on track.
we usually have like a whole like Google Doc, and it's like so written like a week in advance, and we share it with everybody in like the like day before, and we're like, okay, and these are our talking points, and we flow through it, and we like meet beforehand as a team, and we're like, cool, and we're gonna chat through this, and we like have like a round table discussion, and it's real chill. And
This
today
summer's
we're like,
very different.
I
Well,
love
I
We're
it.
all
think-
just too excited, and all structure has gone out the window.
and
I
I
think
think
as
my
the
fault.
person who normally makes those questions, one, me not finishing the book on time and finishing it right before definitely was an impact. But also, I feel like this was such an enjoyable book. I couldn't really easily pick out academic type questions beyond like the people who got killed in a certain fashion was like very reminiscent of like the other themes in the book, the cultists, the inner demons, you know, like certain things that were definitely themes, but it happened all so quickly and so naturally that I think beyond like really the character dynamic and the relationships that everyone had, I really couldn't talk about anything else or guide you guys because normally I end up doing that to the best of my ability.
and
But I think
definitely-
the only thing that I really want to bring up that hasn't really been brought up yet, not like in depth, but like we kind of talked about it, but not much. There were times where like in the book, you had to take priority of what was the best cause of action, whether it was killing someone, killing an animal, just for self-preservation and survival. That really goes against like your ethics and morals as a person, just to, you know, survive.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Realene and Nate especially are so realistic, and we actually got to see a lot of insight on how they care about one another and that relationship dynamic that you don't normally get for books or media of this specific genre. And I really love that aspect of the book.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think I've heard from other people too. This is like not really a spoiler, I don't think, but they loved that they're just best friends.
Yes.
You know, like listen, just because they're like of opposite gender doesn't mean they always have to like end up together.
Yep.
So I think that's kind of realistic too. Like sometimes you just go through some shit with your friends and like how would you handle that situation? It's not always like
Also-
all about love, you know.
Really love the inclusion. I think in chapter, it's like from like 24 to 26, I'm not sure which one, but you mentioned that her and Nate had actually at one point made a blood pact for siblings, or you know, something of that. That was so 90s.
Yeah.
I did so hard, but I'm also like, that makes more sense of their relationship dynamic, and it adds so much depth.
Yeah, I definitely did that. Like, I'm sure I still have a scar on my palm somewhere from like taking a rusty knife with my friends and being like, we're going to be friends forever.
forever.
And then you're like, oh no, I think I did.
Oh my God, did you get it?
Bad.
And then your mom's like, did your kid get a tetanus shot? Are you okay? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we just had them last week together getting chickenpox. We did a chickenpox party. Do we think we should take them and get, I don't know, maybe, let's just let and play it out.
Yeah.
Let's hope it doesn't get infected, you know, like put a Band-Aid on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was very realistic.
Sydney brought up that they were dreading in the chat, oh, we like each other romantically now moment was gonna happen. And I was nervous for it too. I brought it up in our group chat because I love a platonic friendship. I think it's very important, especially with bi erasure that happens.
Yeah.
I think that a bi character having a platonic friendship that even if it's like heteronormative for them to be with that person, they are not.
Yeah.
Even if they were to end up with another guy, if
Exactly.
Realene ended up with a guy, that has no effect on the platonic relationship with Nate. I adore that, and I really appreciate the way that you handled it.
Yeah.
And there is a bit of a spoiler, Kaylee, earmuffs, but whenever taking out the headphone, I hate you. But at the end, whenever Nate mentions that he met a girl,
Yes.
and so it like has that potential, and then it could be like a point of contention, but also it could just be a really great, they all learn to love each other as his relationship and her relationship and friends and stuff. I feel like it's set up really well and just really great bi representation because we some bi bitches.
And I love, okay, so you love Gwendolyn Keist. I actually had the opportunity to be on a panel with her at StokerCon this year on bi visibility. And so we talked about, because I'm bi too, we talked about like bi tropes and things you see and how you try to like what you want to do a little differently in your writing. So love her for that. Her like bi representation's amazing.
Yes.
But yes, definitely. I think there's this thing I was trying to avoid, which is like the greedy vampiric bi that will just like, they're gonna hook up with everybody because they're like a little bit evil and greedy, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, no, they're just actually like a normal person. So
Yeah.
who has friends and is not like sexually attracted to everyone. So
Yeah. I think I'm like that, the bi, well, I've been with my husband for like 15 years, but I find very few people attractive. So I am like that other type of bi that didn't, I love that. I love the representation, and I love Realene. I love her so much.
great.
And I love a flawed character. And I so many people are, I think, reluctant to give their characters real flaws or admit to some of the darker things that we all think, like even if it's just fleeting. But when she talked about Kaylee, ears up.
Is it, wait, hold on, Laura.
Well, actually, wait, no, it's not a spoiler, really. It's,
I was like, is it really going to bother me that bad? Is it really going to bother me that bad in my experience?
Like, wait a minute, don't worry about it. But how she felt about becoming,
she knows better than anybody if it will not.
For her mom, and like when she's thinking like, oh, this is my fault, I wished for this, I wished I didn't have to do this, I wish this was better for me. Everyone
like she's being selfish.
Like everyone has that thought like at times, and it just made me really connect with her and feel for her.
When you're the caretaker, the primary caretaker of a person, it's very common to feel those things. Like, I mean, as a mom or as a child taking care of a parent, either way, you can feel like, oh, like, why do I have to do this? It would be easier for me if X, Y, Z, but you don't really want those things. It's sort of a stress ball in your mind that you can squeeze sometimes.
Especially since she had such a specific path she wanted to follow and had worked for it, and then life happens.
They talk about my daughter's best friend is disabled, and I've learned a lot with his mom, who has become a very, very, very incredibly close friend of mine. And they talk about how like, especially with motherhood, how to be a mother and to be a caretaker is not the same thing. And when you have to do those same jobs in that overlap, the being a mom itself is already so taxing. And then you have to add being a caregiver, a provider, that whole role, which is a full-time role in itself as well, that overlap. And so like, just like, and I think that's why for the hot minute, it took me, I really had to pace myself reading the beginning of the book, because
Of Ma's
that
dementia.
beginning, the mom, the whole Ma and Realene setup was so
well done.
Incredibly.
And she's so
well
young. Like, that's like, I don't know. I've gotten to that age now. I'm in my mid 30s. You know, I'm gonna be over 35 in February. And it's just like, God, when I think about people who are below, I don't know, like the age of 21, I'm like, you baby, you infant. Oh my gosh.
Like, how do you even know how to handle that? Frankly, but same.
Yeah.
Even like as an adult, older adult person, thinking about having to take care of your parents if something happens to them. Like, I don't even know I could handle that. And dementia runs in my family. So those kind of like concerns come from a place of like fear, you know, what can happen and how it's going to work and how you might.
It kind of makes sense that your brain went this way with the story that it did because of that. I also wanted to ask, Laura brought it up about Raylene's, she had this path that she wanted in her life and she doesn't get to do it. And I was wondering if you had a similar path, like, did you ever want to be pre-med, be a doctor, or a psychologist? I'm not sure if you have a degree or anything, because I know at the end she switches to psychology. So I was wondering if there were similarities there.
A little bit, yes. And so degree wise, my degree is in psychology, but I'm a project manager in my day job, so I didn't end up going into that. But psychology kind of helps you no matter what you're doing, you know. But yes, I wanted to be like a therapist or a caseworker or something like that. Right. And that's what my partner does. He actually he works in IT now, but for 20 years he was a social worker, basically. And so there's definitely something there. But also related to her being kind of stuck in her small town. That was definitely me. Like, I grew up in a town very similar in North Dakota and was like, as soon as I graduate college, I am out of here. That was my goal. And so I ended up getting out, but this was like, what would have happened if I hadn't? How would I feel about that? Would I feel trapped or whatever? And I think I probably would have, but you kind of have to make the best of any situation, right? So you can't just like wallow in that just because you're stuck in a place. A lot of people are stuck in places, but they make the best of it. This is my cat Noodle, by the way.
We're going to have to address the Kaylee picture at some point.
Noodle loves voices, so she likes to come around on calls a lot.
Noodle, Mr. Noodle.
I was about to say.
That's what I thought of from Elmo. From Elmo's World.
I really like the inclusion of like the military base in the story because of what you just said. Rural, you know, making the best of a situation that you're in. I'm a military spouse. I am actually living on base, and that is too close to home.
Yeah.
I can speak to that, and every time the military base got brought up, I laughed because soldiers really are like that. And they just, I could go outside my house and talk to any one of these people, and it's literally like talking to the people in the book. And it just, the amount of isolation and just hearing the planes overhead and the fear of like, oh, you never see them over Demise. When that happened in the book, I was like, oh, that's me waking up at any point. I hear a plane and I'm like, is it a normal plane sound?
Yeah.
Or is it something more? I don't know.
Totally. Well, and we grew up where I'm from. It was have you ever seen the movie War Games?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like, there's a part where they're doing the simulation and they're about to launch all the missiles and they check in on a air base called Grand Forks to see if the missiles have actually been launched.
Yeah.
And they haven't. That was where I grew up. So basically it was one of the main targets for nuclear weapons if they were ever to hit the United States would have been where I lived.
Mhm. That's
And
also
both
very
my-
unique to where I live too. I
Yeah.
can't say where
I could
because
tell
I'll
you
say,
were
but
I could tell you were like when you said the sound of planes and everything.
yeah.
Like when you're in that environment where you've been told like something could happen. And both my parents worked on the Air Force Base too. You're always like a little paranoid about that kind of stuff. Yeah.
It had the is this play about us kind of feeling. I'm like, I need to take a break. I'm feeling a little paranoid right now. But especially with that scene, because War Games did come to mind and stuff like that. And even when I did live in Houston with the rest of the folks here, Kaylee and I lived near Ellington Airfield. So we would hear like the planes occasionally. And especially in October where they do their air show.
It was great when you were a lifeguard. It's thunder.
Yep.
Get out the pool. 30 minutes.
Alrighty,
Yep.
so I figure we should wrap this up in the next few minutes. But I was wondering if Sydney or Jeff, if y'all had any questions for Angela. But also, in the book, she stopped drinking soda and switched to Snapple.
Do we have Snapple Facts? That's great.
Okay, maybe that's a
Snapple Facts.
spoiler, Kaylee. It's like a health journey for Realene or whatever.
I
And
love
just
it.
don't really think that that's
Really, Snapple isn't that much better. That's the real trick.
That's the tea.
That's
That's
what
the
we
Snapple
learned
tea.
eventually.
Yeah,
It's like
I
the
know.
early
But in
2000s
the
in
90s,
vitamin water.
in the 90s, it's juice. It's healthy. It might
Yep.
have just as much sugar, but
It's not carbonated.
Or like the inclusion of the Pop-Tart at the beginning. I can't remember which chapter, but like I
Oh
laughed
yeah,
so
the
hard. It was one of my
wildberry.
favorite
Oh,
movies
yeah.
to watch and rewatch over and over is Earth Girls Are Easy. And they have a scene in that where they're talking about Pop-Tarts and they're like, they're supposedly all organic. And it's like that comes to mind because in the book, it's like, yeah, processed sugary food.
The 90s were a
excitement.
lawless, sugary land, and I lived for it.
I
Bring
know.
me
I
back
was
my
here for it.
Dunkaroos.
That's why I don't have a single like natural tooth in my mouth,
oh,
Maybe
right.
these front ones, but like
Yeah.
all
That's
here, it's all crowns and fillings,
Oh, nice.
I have no idea if it's just like my area, but
Calvin.
Dunkaroos are back. They're at Walmart.
Oh,
Well, yes. Yes.
okay.
Yeah.
Where I
They're
live is
probably
very
different.
lawless.
I think they're
It's scary.
different, or our palates change. Who knows?
Yeah, probably a little of both.
There's-
They've changed
There's
them and
different
also
guidelines now.
Yeah, as the token autistic here, formulas do change. They never taste the same, and I hate it. I had a box of macaroni last night and it made me sick because they changed the formula.
Yeah, they always do that without telling us. Rude.
I know. I guess those things have to just live in our memories sometimes.
They
Mhm.
tried to
It'll
do that
never-
with a soft drink in Scotland called Iron Brew, which is very, very popular. Like in Scotland, they outsell Coca-Cola.
I was like, was this a new Coke situation? Did they have a new Coke situation?
That was how like popular Iron Brew is. It's just what you drink. And they tried to change the recipe to, I think, not have as much sugar in it. And you would have thought they had said, we're raising taxes on everyone 75%. Like to the point where Bar
Dump it in
had
the
to
harbor.
change it back.
Oh yeah. Dump
Or,
the Iron
know,
Brew.
Our current equivalent, Sierra Mist to Starry.
That's a lawsuit.
That's exactly what happened. That's why they changed the name.
Yep.
And they also changed the formula slightly because there was a person who was like, yeah, I can drink Sierra Mist, it's fine, because of her immuno specific condition that she had. And then they changed the formula and she's like, well, I can't drink Starry, they changed the formula, it'll make me dead. I felt so bad. I'm like, this is
I
what
feel like Realene would be very upset at the changes they've made to King.
Yes. Iron
Yes,
Brew.
that's the Iron Brew logo.
Okay.
Wikipedia page.
Interesting.
That's not-
So I have to say before we go, because this I feel like this will be the end of the
We talked about
the evening.
obscure sodas in Scotland.
right.
That was on the docket. We
definitely
can
got
check
We
that
have
off.
to say we appreciate and thank you for being our first author, guest, and interviewee so much, because all of us, you were like the perfect culmination of all four of us. And we have no idea how that happened, but you were like, we were all like, if all of us had like a mothership and it was Angela, we were like, it's her, it's
I
the triple
love
up,
it.
like it's her. This book
Well, and
obviously was
Zebediah.
us.
you're my first book club. So it goes both ways. Yeah. You guys are my very first book club. So I will remember this forever.
Oh, I'm so excited. We got it recorded.
then-
We'll have to.
Yep. And if I may, I've got one last quick question. Did you name any of the prairie dogs?
Oh my gosh, I didn't. That I feel like that would have made it a lot harder to kill them.
True.
Yeah, I was
Hey, you
gonna
have 2
say,
and 3.
That's fair.
Yeah, maybe
But if
like
I-
she gets a pet prairie dog.
Yeah, if I ever get like a stuffed prairie dog or something, I will definitely name it, because then I
Yeah.
don't have to be afraid it's gonna die.
Yeah,
That's
he'll never
it.
die.
When you get an
Much better.
unhinged thank you gift
Yeah.
sent,
If it's a prairie dog reaching into a peanut
it.
butter jar,
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
I was
I
gonna say,
know.
I'll like
better watch
I'll
out. You're gonna get
definitely
so
name
many
it.
taxidermied
You don't-
prairie dogs.
I was like, you don't understand Jess's ability to do the goggling. She's gonna be like, well, she's gonna leave here, and for like a week, she's gonna be like, guys, I think I found somebody.
Oh my gosh! And if you notice, the Jif peanut butter jar that he's eating out of definitely looks vintage. So who knows
Yeah,
how
It
old
does.
this?
Very cool.
It looks like a
Don't
vintage
know.
peanut butter jar. I don't know. Maybe
A lot of us
maybe-
live in Texas. It's a wild land out here.
Yeah.
Taxidermy prairie dog.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well,
Alright.
thank you so much for coming and meeting
Yes.
with us. And
You guys, it was a pleasure to
Yeah.
meet you. I feel like we're gonna be
Yeah.
best friends forever now. So
I know.
that's
BFFs.
how it works.
We're all bits.
all right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.